Well, welcome everyone back to SMU Stories. Today, I have a fantastic guest with me today, Henry Bryan. Henry, thank you so much for joining us. Before we begin, would love for you to introduce yourself for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Really excited to be on this, excited to talk to you. My name's Henry Bryan. I'm the director of state advocacy for the North Texas Commission and SMU class of 2021.
Wonderful. Okay, so before we dig into like your career and kind of like more about just after post grad, let's just go back to the beginning. Why SMU? What made you choose SMU? Kind of that process.
Good question. I get that a lot because I grew up in Seattle, which you don't encounter a lot of Seattleites or Washingtonians in Texas in general, but at SMU especially. Neither of my parents are from Seattle. My mom's from Iowa. Dad is from Missouri and actually went to high school down on the border in McAllen. And they always encouraged my brothers and I to get out of Washington just to experience something new, something different. They're both back in the Pacific Northwest. I'm the only holdout, but I think it was really valuable for them. And so SMU just kind of ticked the boxes. I wanted a smaller, mid-sized school football team as
Mhm.
well. When I got there in 2017, they weren't all that great, but I haven't really seen a worse season since I got there, which is
Gotten better. Gotten better.
and I started out in the business school, and so Cox was a big attraction for me.
Okay, very cool. So talk to us about kind of like your 4 years. What was 18-year-old Henry like when he first started freshman? I know you studied political communication at SMU. So kind of like you started at Cox. What made you do the switch? Kind of like what fascinated you about the intersection of politics and communication and influence?
So I started in Cox, kind of focused on marketing, business, just trying to figure out my way. Accounting kicked my butt, and I just was not having a very good time. And so I was trying to figure out how I can take courses that were really in my interests. I'd always been kind of vaguely interested in politics, following it on my own time, just kind of doing my due diligence as an American and as a voter. And it wasn't until I took a class with Dr. Rita Kirk, it was First Amendment and free speech, and I loved it. And it was for a UC credit, but I was constantly kind of discussing in class, asking questions, going to office hours, not necessarily because I needed it, but more because I was interested in the topic and I wanted to learn more. And it was Dr. Kirk who actually said, "What are you doing over there in Cox? Why don't you get over here?" And so I did exactly that, and it turned out really well. I really enjoyed my time over there. I enjoyed my time in Cox as well. It wasn't all bad,
Mhm.
but I loved the coursework. The professors were great. It's a smaller program. I don't know exactly how many folks graduated, but it was around 20 or so.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay.
so I knew all my classmates real well. We collaborated in different classes all the time. And just the coursework in general really intrigued me. And it allowed me to kind of grow in what I was interested in, which is politics and just kind of the art of using words and terms and stuff like that to persuade and hopefully do good.
I love that. Yeah, I was a CCPA major as well, and I had Rita Kirk in the first class. It was like political rhetoric and then
Mhm.
comp theory. It was intense.
She
I was
knows
like,
how to get you.
yeah, it was. I remember getting my first paper, and I wrote it was like a 20-page paper on MLK's speech, and then it was like scattered back. There was so much red on it, and I was like, will I get in this major or not?
The
So
red pen is intimidating. I
yes.
remember the red pen well.
I love it. So I know during your time at SMU, were you part of any organizations? I know there was some that you were part of. What did you learn from like lessons, leadership, being part of just different organizations around in campus?
That's actually one of my biggest regrets, as kind of the from looking back on my time at SMU, because I wasn't as involved as I maybe could have been.
Mhm,
I was in, Phi Delta Theta. That was my fraternity. I really, really loved my time there, and that's a big driver in why I stayed in Dallas. Most political folks, they either go to Austin or they go to DC, but all my friends are here, and I did not want to go to a town and start fresh again like I did when I first came here. Really, I think as far as lessons go, I think I learned dependability the most,
mm,
and that crosses the spectrum in a lot of different facets of life. I think being a dependable friend, dependable family member, dependable employee. I still
mhm.
utilize a lot of those kind of life lessons that I learned, not because it was being taught to me, because it was a huge part of my life. And I couldn't really interact with a lot of folks the way I did if I wasn't dependable.
I love that. So you graduated in 2021, so there was COVID also played a part in there, really in the middle of an, pandemic. Was there, like, a unique and challenging moment, like, to enter the workforce? What was that transition like? Did, I know being in the CSP major, going to, political communication, how was that process transitioning into that?
You know, it was not ideal. But
Mhm.
again, thinking back on COVID, I do count myself as a very lucky one
Uh-huh.
because a lot of business owners, families, it affected them deeply. And I just had to take Zoom courses. What can I complain about?
Yeah.
But it did affect a lot of things. It affected internships in 2020 when it
Mhm.
hit. I was set to go to London and intern in Parliament through SMU. That didn't happen, and so I had to adapt, and I ended up finding a very interesting internship that maybe didn't necessarily play into my career goals, but it got me into an office setting, taught me a lot of kind of the rules and just general general things that you need to follow as an employee in an office setting, which I hadn't really been in. And so going into the job market, I was lucky enough to find a job relatively quickly when I started looking in Dallas. And so it went pretty well for me. And I think SMU really prepared a lot of people
Mhm.
for the job market. There was a lot of assistance from professors, from the different kind of departments within SMU that were really focused on getting folks into the workforce. They weren't there to lecture us. They were there to get us into the workforce, make sure that we were engaging and using the lessons that they taught to advance our careers, which I really appreciated.
I love that. Was there a course that stuck out to you during your time at SMU?
Of course. Um,
I know it's been like 5 years.
yeah, free speech and the First Amendment.
Yeah.
That was the hook, line, and sinker for me to get into the program. So I think about that all the time because it really changed the trajectory of
Mhm.
where I am, and I think it gave a lot of context into how we operate as a society, which I think is extremely important to kind of know why those rules are there, why how they got changed throughout history, which I really loved. A lot of courses with Professor Salinas
Mm.
were great. Some of his seminars were, it was a lot of discussion and let's sit down. There's 8 people in this class. I'll talk to you about a topic for 20 minutes and let me hear your takes. And that kind of helped me develop skills that might not have gotten in a larger kind of seminar session or larger classroom session
Yeah.
where I could interact with my colleagues, kind of figure out the social skills necessary when discussing pretty hot topics, political topics that are usually divisive. We were able to find kind of common ground and how to interact with each other in a productive way.
I love that. So I know, like, the 1911 group, it's a lot for alums to join, get involved. Like, we host a lot of programs, but it's also a great kind of like tool for alumni or graduates who are gonna, who are close to getting who are seniors and is like, "Oh, I'm gonna graduate. What part of organization can I do?" While you are learning kind of those when you were in your internship and learning about kind of like, "Oh, what is the office culture like?" What are some, like, tips, tricks that you learned that you can just, like, pass along for, like, future graduates?
Yeah, I would say interacting, especially with kind of more senior level people, your
Mhm.
boss, any clients or something like that, especially when you're a fresh grad, is really intimidating. And I think it's best not to see yourself as some 22-year-old. It's best to see yourself as a part of your organization,
Mhm.
and an equal to your colleagues and to your clients as well. Um, I think getting over that hump really makes a huge difference because that allows you to communicate more efficiently instead of watching your tone, watching your words, being scared to
Mhm.
speak up. For me, that really freed up my ability to say what I mean
Mhm.
and actually contribute as opposed to just kind of follow along or
Mhm.
do what I'm told. And again, to any fresh grads out there, you should do what you're told, but you're allowed to give input. You're allowed to interact with your team as a member of it, not just as a passive person that's along for the ride.
I love that. That's great advice. So now we go into in a few years, you were account executive roles. And then now, as you mentioned, you're director for the state advocacy at the North Texas Commission. Walk us through that journey. How did you get here?
My first job, it was in Dallas for a company called Lilly and Company. It's a political fundraising firm, and so they have offices in Dallas, Houston, and Austin. And then we expanded to DC. We had one person in Oklahoma City, one person in Midland. Really, what we did is kind of take on clients, mostly on the federal level.
Mhm.
A lot of the time, established members of Congress, sometimes candidates as well. And we would take them throughout Texas for donor meetings. We would set up fundraisers for them. I really enjoyed that job. I got to work full time with three members of Congress, one here in Texas, one in Oklahoma, and another in Arkansas. But we also kind of had a rolling carousel of leaders in Congress, which was really cool. When you need money as a member, you come to Texas because
Mhm.
Texas is thriving and it's a very politically engaged state. So I got to meet a lot of the leadership at the time. Kevin McCarthy, former speaker, was a big
Oh.
client of ours. I got to meet candidates as well, which was
Mhm.
really intriguing to me because you know the stories of the established members. You know the stories of the speaker or the whip or the chairman of appropriations. But hearing from those candidates on why they wanted to get engaged, why they wanted to leave their comfortable careers, their normal work life balance for public service really intrigued me because it got me more excited and interested in joining that political realm. And on top of that, I got to meet not only with donors, so people that were extremely successful in their field, but I got to meet with lobbyists, of
Mm.
whom I am one now, which is really cool. I think a lot of the time they get a bad rap,
Yeah.
but I distinctly remember one meeting where I really decided I want to go into lobbying, and it was with a member of Congress who used to be a pilot, knew
Mm.
everything about aviation, and knew a lot of stuff about other things too. But we sat down with a gentleman at a North Texas commission that manufactures rail cars,
Mhm. Very cool.
and he was telling the member of Congress about all of the obstacles that they're running into.
Mhm.
And this member of Congress, former pilot, commercial and military, he didn't know the first thing about rail car manufacturing. But he's passing laws that impact that industry and impact the North Texas region in a huge way. And so
Mhm.
really passing off information to legislators is a big thing that I do, and I think it's really, really important to our government system.
I love that. So what does your kind of like day to day look like?
It changes every day, and that's why I love my job. I couldn't sit down and do the same Excel spreadsheets every day. Not to say that isn't a very valuable and viable career path. It just wasn't for me. Right now, we're in the throes of our policy development for the 90th legislative session, which starts next year. So I'm having usually 2 calls a week with our different policy task forces, which is open to all of our membership. It's usually about 20 to 50 folks that are interested in water and infrastructure or local government or business competitiveness, where they give their input and ideas on what our legislative priorities should look like for the coming session. But on top of that, I'm always at different meetings, client meetings, forums. I was with the Texas Association of Manufacturers all day today, learning about what they'll be working on. So again, it's hard to necessarily define what a week looks like because uh, every single week looks different for me.
Keeps you on your toes.
Which I love. I
Yeah.
need that. I'm not somebody who can stand the monotonous. So
I love that. So, we hear so much like North Texas is one of the fastest growing regions in the country. What do you see, or like, what are the biggest challenges and opportunities you see right now?
that's my job. Which so I'm always happy to talk about North Texas. It's my home. I love North Texas. I love what SMU gave me as an introduction to North Texas. Right now, I'm working on a whole litany of issues, but I would say top line items are probably water. We need to address the shortfalls that we have with water because, like you mentioned, we're growing at such a rapid rate. Uh, we are not well equipped, particularly being in Texas, to
Mm,
accommodate the water needs of everybody. So, finding new adaptive ways that the state and the federal government can assist
mhm.
us in finding those new water sources is a big issue for us as well.
That's good to know. I was not aware of that.
Yeah,
So,
most people aren't, and it's kinda better that way because once you get in the weeds, you see the needs. It's a bit intimidating, but we've got great legislators in DC and in Austin working on this, so,
mhm, keeps moving forward. What is something about working in like government relations that most people on the outside don't really understand?
kinda to what I said earlier, most people don't understand lobbyists outside of the house of cards. Um, as much as I would love to be pulling the strings, I'm not. I am working with clients and working with legislators to best serve the North Texas region. And so I would say something that most people don't necessarily understand is that we're the bulk of my job is education, is bringing issues to the forefront for our legislators to make sure that they're fully aware of the scope of the issue or just the
Mm,
issue in general if it's not something they're tracking, and then providing potential solutions that they can implement to make North Texas a better place to work and live.
mhm. I love that. How has the SMU network like just shown up and opening doors or just shaping your path?
You know, it's funny because I sometimes I run into SMU grads, but mm, SMU doesn't produce a lot of folks doing what I do, which is
Mhm.
interesting. A lot of folks in the business school, engineering school, of course, our music school is wonderful, and so. But I would say the biggest benefit of being an SMU grad is just the reputation that it carries. I think SMU is known to be a very quality institution that cares about their students and educates them well. And so I'm always really proud to say I'm an SMU grad, and that helps me a lot. And when I do encounter somebody who's an SMU grad that does similar stuff to me, we get really excited and we throw our fingers up and do the
Oh,
whole
yeah.
thing. So,
So the whole pony up,
oh yeah, oh yeah.
good little collaboration. I feel like a good there's like the community where like ponies like stick together when you do run into one another and just like, oh, how can I help you? What do you need? And how can we drag?
It's a community, and I think that's kind of a symptom of it being a smaller school,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
which is what I was looking for. I wanted community, and that's exactly what I found, and I still find today.
I love that. So, I have one more question before we go to rapid fire, which is just like quick little 5 questions and, one-word answers. But to SMU students or alumni who, are looking to go into public policy or government relations, but have no idea where to start, what would you tell them?
I think you need to be open. I think you need to be very open. The typical trajectory is to go do your Austin time or your DC
Mhm.
time. I have done neither. And so kind of opening up yourself to networking is huge because again, in Dallas it's a smaller community, smaller industry. So looking for those opportunities and those networking uh things is really key. I
Mhm.
would also say internships are a great way. I told you about the strange internship that I did during COVID because it was kind of a default. I also volunteered on a state election campaign. So I ran or didn't run anything. I really just put together signs and delivered them. But I got to be on calls with the state representative. I got to engage and I got to see the groundwork that goes into elections, public policy, stuff like that, which I really enjoyed. So
Philip?
those in district internships are usually always open. They're not
Uh-huh.
paid, so, account for that, but it's a really wonderful opportunity to see if you like it or not,
Yeah.
because I think that's the most important you can do, especially once you're exploring as a student, to make sure that it's something that you want to do.
Are there any, like, organizations, like young professional groups or anything like that for other people to get involved?
I I'm trying to think now. I know it might sound funny, but there are chamber events that
Mhm.
often touch on public
Yeah.
policy a lot. The North Texas Commission has events all the time, although they aren't necessarily advertised. I would highly encourage any students to kind of look up what we're doing. Find us on our website. We have our events posted, whether
Mhm.
it's a legislative update, we have Connects events where we talk about all different sorts of issues that are ongoing in our region,
Mhm.
whether it's tax issues, which we had a couple weeks ago. We're having a panel on data centers later this month as well. So I I think you need to be active in pursuing stuff like this just because like most jobs, they're not going to fall into your lap, but
Yeah.
especially on public policy, being proactive is not only noticed, but it's very much appreciated.
I love that. Okay, you ready for rapid fire?
Let's do it.
Okay, best piece of advice you got on the hilltop?
This is kind of a cop out, but I think about it all the time. Our slogan was "World Changers Shaped Here." And that really has stuck with me as I see my career grow and as I see my friends' career grow. I think SMU encourages students to think outside of the box
Mhm.
and not necessarily settle.
Yeah.
As an SMU grad, you have high expectations,
Mhm.
and you're kind of called to meet those expectations.
Yeah. I love that. That I use that slogan all the time. When people are like, "Where'd you go?" I was like, "World changers are shaped here." Every single
Right.
time. One policy issue you're fired about right now?
Water is one. Education
Mhm.
funding is another. Both higher ed and K through 12. I think Texas needs to step up when it comes to our public education.
I agree. Favorite spot in Dallas to decompress?
I'll give you two very different answers.
Right.
White Rock Lake, love
Yeah.
walking, love sitting around and reading, and Katie Trail Ice House.
Okay.
Nice day.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. One word of where Henry Bryan is right now.
I would say improving. I think every day is an opportunity to learn something new
Mhm.
and improve yourself or your career,
I love
and
that.
do my best to approach every day like that.
Oh, that's so great. I mean, that's a great way to like end it and wrap this up. Henry, we really do want to say thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. And for being part of SMU Stories. Anyone who is interested, they can find you on LinkedIn just to connect with you more, learn more about your background. But we really loved having you on today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really appreciative of y'all doing this. I think SMU stories need to be highlighted.
Yes, I love it. Thank you, Henry.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you to our sponsors: Sewell Buick GMC, Agility Holdings Group, Probity Advisors, Sound of a Rose, Hilltop Property Tax, Security National Bank of Texas, Boyd, Shackelford, Barnett and Dixon, Bigham Agency, Life After Ball, SMU Cox School of Business, and Mignon Steakhouse.